Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Siva gedola, lio lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio 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 besimcha.
Noya mavdil ben kodesh lechol.
Breakfast with Elli.
Mode ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmati b'chemla raba emunatecha.
Die Reibestier sucht Ani Hashem Roifeichu Roifeichu Elai Amo Yisroel. Die Reibestier sucht Ani Hashem Roifeichu Roifeichu Elai Amo Yisroel.
Good morning, good vach, Shavua Tov, and welcome to Breakfast with Elli. It is Sunday, the 7th day of May, the 16th day of Iyar, 5783, the year of Hakhel. The Torah portion is another double portion. Behar-Bechukosai. HaYom Yom Rishon L'Shabbos. First day counting up towards Shabbos. We'll be learning the first Aliyah. We counted 31 days of the Omer last night. I know. You know what that means? That is right. The holiday commonly known as Lag, the 33rd, Lamed Gimel, the 33rd day of the Omer, is coming up, and it's coming up quick. It's tomorrow night. And we'll be discussing a few things about Lag BaOmer today, all right? I'm so glad that you're with me. Thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me. Men and boys, please take your two front sitzes. And, oh, yeah, I was on Mrs. Maisel. There you go. Yes, I'm singing the Kaddish on the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, episode 6 of season 5. So, shameless little plug over there for me. That's okay. I'm entitled. Men and boys, take your two front sitzes and let's make a bracha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit.
All right. Let's see if I can fix that. There we go. Everyone together, al divrei Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah.
Mekabel.
Hareini mekabel alai mitzvat aseh shel ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
Torah Tziva.
Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha keilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha keilat Yaakov.
Right, fantastic. Hold on 1 second here. All right. Oh, that's what happened. I see. Iyar. Why are these not in order? There we go. Okay. Time to give tzedakah.
I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else to keep. Yeah, I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else in need.
Okay, let us do that. I forgot to do that. I'm sorry. I had a little housekeeping to do. Here we go. All right, everybody, we have given tzedakah. And of course, that takes us to the Shema. Right hand over your eyes.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
All right, and that takes us to breakfast.
Shema Yisrael.
Wrong way. Here we go.
Hakhel
Yogurt and coffee, as I do on a daily basis. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hakhel niyah bidvarei.
Coffee, blessed coffee. God bless you for being a friend. When the whole world turns on me, it's only you on which I can depend. I want to taste you day. Yes, a cup of two in the evening too. For me, it's the only way.
All right. Yes. Before we get to today in Jewish history, I just want to put something up on the screen for you. We are giving all our tefillas today for Chaim Meir ben Sima Chasya. This unfortunate young man was in a drowning incident in Florida, in Miami, and we are hoping for good news. He was airlifted to the hospital, and we are hoping to hear good news. So please daven for Chaim Meir ben Sima Chasya for a complete refuah shalema, a complete healing, and it should be speedily in our days, come quickly and completely. All right? Today in Jewish history, I done on this on Friday, but today is the day that the manna, began falling on the 16th day of Iyar in 2448, 1 month after the Exodus from Egypt. If you'd like more about the mun, please go to Chabad.org. There's lots there. The Romans in the year 70 CE, 3830 from creation, Titus and the Roman army laid siege upon Jerusalem, greatly weakening its defenders. On the 16th of Iyar, the Romans razed the middle wall of Jerusalem. The city was later burned, its inhabitants massacred, and the temple destroyed on the 9th of Iyar. That was the second temple. The Nuremberg laws were passed in Hungary on this day in 1939. It deprived Jews of the rights of citizenship, and it was passed on this day, the 16th day of Iyar, in all of Nazi-allied Hungary. Also, Dachau was the first Nazi concentration camp, and the model for which all the other camps were built on was liberated on this day. More than 200,000 Jews were housed in Dachau. More than 30,000 were killed, and tens of thousands died due to the conditions and the spread of disease. The camp was freed by the 45th Infantry Division of the United States 7th Army. It was the second concentration camp to be liberated following the end of World War II. U.S. troops forced the citizens of the local community to come to the camp, observe the conditions, and help clean the facilities. On this day, in 1948, Witold Pilecki was executed by the communist Polish government after a show trial where he was found guilty of espionage. A leader of the Polish resistance, he volunteered to be imprisoned in Auschwitz, where he remained from 1940 to 1943. And during that time, he smuggled out information on the mass killings and other atrocities that the Germans were committing. They were the first comprehensive reports of the Nazi killing machine to reach the West. Last night we counted 31 days of the Omer. As I said on Monday night, we have to be careful. After midday, we try to avoid saying the day of the week that we are going to be, Lag BaOmer. You can say it today, but Lag BaOmer is a huge holiday. The plague amongst Rabbi Akiva's students ended. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai passed away. The Ramah passed away. It's the day the IDF was created. We will talk about all of these things coming up. However, the Lubavitcher Rebbe initiated the organization of parades of Jewish unity and pride on Lag BaOmer on a number of occasions. 1953, 1956, 57, 60, 66, 67, 70, 76, 1980, 83, 84, 87, and 1990. Parades were held in 770. They were all on a Sunday. However, we are now going to have a parade again. We had one a few years ago. Then a little pandemic thing got in the way, and we didn't have one for a few years. And now, well, it's back.
Signs are up in Brooklyn, London's doing the same. They're smiling down in Melbourne, in Cape Town, Moscow and Spain.
In times of the Beis HaMikdash, Hakhel years we'd all gather around to strengthen Torah and mitzvos. Let's march united once again.
Parade, parading, join together hand in hand. Parade, parading, onward to the promised land. Parade, parading, wave your banner to the sky. Parade, parading, come on and join the ride. Hakhel means no one's missing, now we all stand as one. Hakhel means we're united, and it's for everyone. Parade, parading,
Join together hand in hand.
parade, parading,
Onward to the promised land.
parade, parading,
Wave your banner to the sky.
parade, parading.
Oh, come on and join the ride. All right, everybody, let's get marching over there.
We're dancing in Chicago and singing in LA. The great parade is going on, a worldwide mitzvah train. Parade, parading, join together hand in hand. Parade, parading, onward to the promised land. Parade, parading, wave your banner to the sky. Parade, parading, come on and join the ride.
The world in celebration, we're marching young and old. Our hope for generations, we're moving on, let's go.
Parade, parading, join together hand in hand. Parade, parading, onward to the promised land. Parade, parading, wave your banner to the sky. Parade, parading, come on and join the ride.
Diggy, 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 dum, dum, let's go, Hakhel. March, mitzvahs, Hakhel, Mama Shigabal. Hawaii over there, Ground Heights right there, huh? One mitzvah brings another, it's like a golden chain. Now we must stand together. You see, we're all the same.
Parade, parading, join together hand in hand. Parade, parading, onward to the promised land. Parade, parading, wave your banner to the sky. Parade, parading, come on and join the ride. Join this great parade. Join this great parade.
You can participate in the Great Parade. All you have to do is go to Crown Heights on Tuesday. And I have a schedule of the parade, which I will read to you tomorrow. Over Shabbat, we had a special prayer that we added to pray for the welfare of the new king, King Charles. That's right. And here is Rabbi Mervis with some info on that.
He who gives salvation to kings and dominion to princes, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. May he bless our sovereign Lord King Charles, our gracious Queen Camilla, the Prince and Princess of Wales, and all the royal family.
Fantastic, right? I know. It's exciting. All right, today's Spirit Omer.
49 days to count the Omer.
Last
After it
night,
start, Mark, at the end of our read, Steve, do it in shul, shmul, just count with me. Look for the stars, Tamar, just be sure to make the bracha.
ותיבונו על תפילתנו הגאים החדשים גאים שאין בו שבועי ושלושה ימים גאים
HaYom, HaYom, echad shloishim yom, she'emar bo shavuos, u'shloisho yomim bo Omer. HaYom, 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 HaYom,
Today is day 31 of the counting of the Omer, Tiferet of Hod. What is humility? Humility is an essential ingredient to our personal growth and is driven by caring for others, as well as believing that you can learn from others. Humility is accepting yourself with all of your strengths and weaknesses rather than judging yourself for all your shortcomings. It's embracing all of yourself, being grateful to Hashem for making you you with all your God-given gifts. Tiferet is also compassion, sensitivity, tolerance, and understanding. Compassion is also having a sincere respect and concern for others and acting with empathy and, of course, kindness. Humility and compassion go hand in hand. Just as humility leads to compassion, compassion can also lead to humility. The exercise of the day is express a humble feeling in an act of compassion. Thank you and good.
Squad, we are back and it is week number 5. We have so much to accomplish this week, so let's jump right on in. This week we are focusing on the mitzvah of saying Shema. Now, you probably say it at night and in the morning, but did you realize that saying Shema is actually a mitzvah? When we say Shema, in Shema, there are the words B'shachbecha, when you lay down, Uvkumecha, and when you get up. And that tells us when the mitzvah of saying Shema is. It's before we go to sleep and when we wake up in the morning. So, Kriya Shema Alamita, you say at home at night. Shema in the morning, maybe you say in school, maybe you say in shul when you're davening. This week, we are going to be focusing on that mitzvah of Shema. In Shema, there are so many reminders for us, so focusing on saying it will lead us to so many other mitzvahs that we do. Now, what we are going to do is before getting into bed this week, before you're dozing off and getting all comfortable, pause. Take out a Shema card or take out a sitter and actually read the words of Kriya Shema. See them with kavana and grab that mitzvah and maximize it. So, in the principles, you have a Shema card and a reminder. Put it on your pillow. And of course, run. Tell your friends to be part of this too. Before you go to sleep tonight and every night this week, pause, take your Shema card, say Shema, and then have an amazing night of sleep. See you next week, Shliach Squad.
All right. Fantastic. You guys are so great. All right, we move on now to HaYom Yom for today. Come on, computer. There we go. HaYom Yom for the 16th day of Iyar.
It's common wisdom amongst observant Jews that Hashem is more happy, much more happy, with those who spend more time in shul than with those who spend less. The Hasidic perspective is altogether different. As a matter of fact, this idea is turned on its head. Today's HaYom Yom is about a fellow by the name of Rabbi Eliyahu Abeler. Now, Eliyahu was a simple man, not particularly learned, and once he had an encounter with a Yechidus encounter with the fourth Rebbe of Chabad, the Rebbe Maharash. The Rebbe Maharash said these words to him, Eliyahu, I envy you. The great Hasidic master, the Rebbe Maharash, says to this simple man that he is envious of him. You travel to fairs, you meet many people, and at these fairs, while in business, you have the opportunity to make mention of an idea from the Torah, and you can encourage people to study Torah. This business, this spiritual business of bringing Hashem into the workspace causes tremendous joy on high. And it's also a lucrative business, this spiritual business, because when you introduce Hashem during business transactions, Hashem rewards this type of work handsomely with children, health, and livelihood. And the bigger the marketplace, the more potential for this type of special spiritual work. So from the Hasidic perspective, Hashem's happiness cannot be quantified just by how many hours you spend in study and prayer. But Hashem's happiness is measured by where your passion lies. If you can bring the holiness of the Torah out to the great big world outside of shul, you've reached a level of divine happiness that will be the envy of even the greatest scholars.
I would like to be the envy of scholars. All right, here's a word from our sponsors.
And now, a word from our sponsors. PestProRidol.com.
PestProRidol.com. Trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidol.com.
Tarzane Group. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to tarzanegroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565 and order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at tarzanegroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign@gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications, logos, wall hangings, Judaica, and you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching. When shopping, and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. Thanks for watching.
All right. Patreon.com/theactorsrabbi. Torah all around the world. All right. It's Sunday. On Sunday, we see the name of Torah. all, and of course, around the world. We start with the parsha of Behar. Behar means on the mountain. As it says, the verse is, Hashem spoke to Moshe, Behar Sinai. Behar means on the mountain. The Medrash says that Hashem chose to give the Torah on Sinai since it was smaller of mountains, suggesting humility. However, the Medrash says Hashem chose. If Hashem wanted to give the Torah in a place indicative of humility, surely a valley would have been, however, appropriate. Admittedly, Sinai is the smallest of mountains, but ultimately it's a little mountain, which is hardly suggestive of lowliness and humility. Furthermore, our parsha has become known by the name Behar on the mountain. Now, even without the clarification that it's Mount Sinai, the smallest of mountains, surely the name on the mountain below lost any connotation of humility without the clarification. The need for humility in the service of Hashem on the very lost any connotation of humility without the clarification. And spiritual growth. Generally speaking, a person might fall very one of three categories. A beginner in the study and practice of Judaism, who has not yet trained the mindset and personality to be in harmony with the value of beginner. Thus, in the study and practice of Judaism, this stage, any traces of ego will prove totally counterproductive to his spiritual growth. For his ego serves to strengthen his stage. Any traces of ego, there's the intermediate person. Here, the person has considerably refined their personality to adhere to Jewish values and has the intermediate knowledge. Therefore, while humility will still be the dominant feature of his personality, it may be necessary invitation for this person to use their ego to protect the interests of Yiddishkeit Judaism in general, and himself as an observant Jew use their ego. Nevertheless, ego should be carefully tempered with humility and himself as an observant Jew. And then there's the advantage. If a person has totally transformed their mind and body to want only the values of Judaism, and then his ego no longer possesses a threat. If a person has totally transformed their mind by exercising his ego, only reinforces the strength of their personality and is totally dedicated to the Torah. This is why our parsha is called Behar, on the mountain. Without the clarification to this Mount Sinai, this is why our parsha, the Torah is teaching us Behar, each and every one of them is capable of, without the clarification to this Mount Sinai. His personality is so holy that it doesn't need the Torah is teaching us Behar with humility. And we will do his personality is so holy that we will do the name of the parsha Behar-Bechukosai with humility. His personality is so holy that we will do the name of the parsha. In the first Aliyah, Hashem commands Moshe regarding Shemitah, sabbatical year, 7th year rather, and Jubilee years, the 5th year. Every 7th year is Shemitah, a sabbatical year when it's forbidden year, 7th year rather. And Jubilee after 7 sets, 7 years, every 7 Jubilee, Yovel is proclaimed. During Jubilee years, all the laws of the sabbatical year after 7 sets, 7 years, all slaves set free, all lands were during Jubilee years, all the laws were commanded to conduct business ethically. Since all land reverts to their original owners during Jubilee year, the amount of years remaining until business must be taken into account. All land reverts to their original owners conducted, and the price set accordingly. The end of this Aliyah enjoins us to not willfully harass or intentionally mislead, and the price our fellow. The end of this Aliyah enjoins us to not willfully harass or intentionally mislead, and the price our. Okay, here is HaYom.
Behar-Bechukosai, Rishon. The Parshas Behar starts off with the mitzvah of Shemitah, and we're not working the land for a full year. The end of the 6-year cycle is 1 year Shemitah, and we count 7 Shemitah 7 times, and then there's a yovel. Now, in Pasuk Ches, it says, this mitzvah is the same thing as Firas Omer, just like we count the days and the weeks. There's a mitzvah on the Bezdin, on Rosh Hashanah. They would say, HaYom, let's say it's the 14th year into the yovel. They would say, HaYom, Shnas Arba Asar, Shehem Shnei Shmitos, L'yovel. And part of the mitzvah is to show us, the Mefarshim explain, the reason behind the mitzvah is that the land is not yours. You think it's yours, you can do whatever you want with it. There's no such thing. You can see in Sheni, there's halachas, even when you sell your land, that you could, if a person has to sell his land because he's desperate for money, so it's still, he's totally, or if you bought the land from the person has a right to come back at any time during the yovel and demand to buy it back, as long as he could come up with the means. And you can't say anything, you can't say peep to him about it, unless it's a walled city from the times of Yeshua ben Nun, and you can't do it in the first 2 years. And by a walled city from the times of Yeshua ben Nun, you have a year to claim it back, and he can't stop you. You just have to compensate him for the amount of time that you deduct from the price that he gave you of the amount of time that he had the field. Some of the Sorim point out, why is it dafka a year of Shemitah to make this to drill and to make it us internalize that the land that doesn't belong to us. So the Gemara says that one of the Amayram told us, Talmidim, don't come to me during Nisan and Tishrei, take care of all your personal business then, so this way you don't have to keep doing Bittul Torah for the rest of the year. So for 6 years, 2 months a year, at the end of a 6-year cycle, you had 12 months of Bittul Torah. So Shemitah came along, they dedicated the entire year to make up for those lost 12 months in the previous 6 years. And some say that because really the world runs because of Shabbos, and because in the first 6 years the plants were growing on Shabbos, and there's about 52 Shabbosim in a year, so in a full 7 years, the 52 times 7 is going to get you to 364. So to have a full year where the land is going to also keep Shabbos, is going to be a whole year of Shabbos to make up for all the Shabbosim, the 364 Shabbosim that weren't kept in the previous 6. There's a few mitzvahs quickly before we get to Sheni that Chachamim learn out in Pasuk Gimel Yadal v'chisimku memker lamisecha. There's when you do business, you should do it with amisecha, with your nation. When this is by buying, by selling, people think it is only by buying. That if you could buy from a guy, you buy from a Jew, you should buy from the Jew. This applies also to selling. If you could sell to a Jew or sell to a guy, you should sell to the Jew. And there's a mitzvah of loy soinu eshasacha. This is in business, not to defraud. That's the general thing. But there's more pratim about if something has a market value. If you charge more than a 6, could he back out, or could you only have to compensate him for what the loss that you caused him? And then, if 2 psukim later, it says again v'loy soinu, don't defraud. But here, Chachamim have a Kabbalah. This is referring to Ainas Dvarim, not to shepherd someone with words. For example, you don't tell about tshuva. You remember when you used to go to McDonald's, and so on and so forth. And that takes us till Sheni.
All right. Let's see if we got this here. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. Okay. I do not have a Zosha Zilberstein for you today, so let us do Michael Kigel today. Zosha Zilberstein for you today.
Get God? Or not?
Get God. Get God. Catur Dio. See, yes, I did try to capture God in a little painting I did a few years ago.
Seriously? Wow. Seriously? Where?
On the ceiling. I did try very hard to capture God, but...
But you filled.
But I failed, yes.
You filled and failed.
Fail?
You failed, naturally. It's not your fault. I mean, it is God we're talking about here, right? The infinite one? I mean, you can't really expect to get anywhere near infinity with a little bit of paint and plaster. You failed because you filled. You filled in too much with your mind, your talent, your genius.
Are you an art critic or just a cruel fellow?
Neither, I hope. I'm sorry if I seem rude. Look, let me try to make my point in terms of what's carved in stone.
Ah, stone. This is something I understand.
The book of Leviticus records how God asked the children of Israel to walk in my decrees and keep my commandments.
Sim preceptis meis ambula veretis.
Preceptus, precepts. Okay, I said decrees, but precepts is also a good way to translate the Hebrew word chukim. The fact is, there is no adequate way to translate this word.
Precepts, commandments, laws, it's all the same thing, no? Synonymy?
Not quite synonymous, no. In Hebrew, the various terms for the mitzvot, the so-called commandments, actually entail important distinctions. For example, the term mishpatim generally refers to a type of commandment that has some discernible logic or sense to it. For example, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not worship idols, thou shalt set up courts of law.
I see. With this, you can get God?
In a sense, yes, you can get God or get what God is getting at. And by contrast, the term chukim refers to a type of commandment that is beyond logic, beyond any obvious sense.
I see. Commandments like don't eat a porchetta.
Sure, that's a good example. In fact, all the kosher laws are chukim. Not to eat pork, lobster, rabbit, meat cooked in milk. Also, all the sacrificial rituals are chukim.
There are many such ritualistic commandments, yes, but isn't this what makes it so difficult to accept these rituals, these chukim? They are without reason, without logica.
Well, they're certainly very difficult to accept on the basis of reason.
But what other basis is there?
The word chukim itself tells us the etymology of the word chukim. And this is where stone and sculpture come in.
Ah, stone. This is something that I understand.
The word chukim comes from chakikah, which means carving, engraving, inscribing.
Ah, so the chukim are written in a stone?
Very much so, yes, and not just in a literal sense. When you write something on paper with ink, the ink is superimposed onto the paper, it's added to the paper. But when you engrave words into stone,
come 10 comandamenti.
Like the 10 Commandments, right, when you engrave words in stone, nothing is added to the stone. On the contrary, the words are subtracted from the stone. Stony material is removed in order to reveal the words.
Que meraviglia! This is exactly what happens in sculpture. You know, ordinary people believe that a sculptor sees a block of marble that he finds in nature with its natural shape, and he imposes his own image from his own imagination on top of the marble. But this is totally wrong, ignoranti, plebe. No, in reality, a sculptor sees the figure trapped inside the marble, and he works to liberate it from its captivity.
Wow, that's so beautiful. So the sculptor is a kind of liberator.
Esattamente. And sometimes it does not work. The sculpture is a failure. Why? Because the figure inside the stone does not want to be liberated.
That's a beautiful notion. But just to clarify, there is one very important distinction between the way a sculpture is trapped in the stone and the way that words are carved out of stone. The figure fills the stone, whereas the words are actually the hollow spaces in the stone.
Fills the stone. Is this what you said about failing because of feeling?
The chukim are like hollow letters engraved in stone. These are the divine precepts, the divine decrees that cannot be filled in with any reason or logic.
The mind, the intellect needs to be empty.
The intellect is like raw material that needs to be carved out, and not just the intellect per se, but the deep personal attachment to one's intellect, the pride one takes in one's intellect, the degree to which one identifies one's very self with one's intellect. All of this is material that needs to be removed in order to make the words of God legible in the stone.
So I cannot connect with God via my intellect?
You can, with the mishpatim, to some extent. But the chukim, and every commandment, when you dig deep enough, is a chok. The chukim represent the most profound dimension of our relationship with God, a dimension far too profound for the finite intellect to grasp or really appreciate. Removing the intellect means unencumbering our intimacy with God.
As if we were the hollow letters inscribed in God himself?
You know the angel Michael, right?
Angelo Michele?
You know what the name Michael means, right?
Very cute. Very, very, very cute. He's good, right? I like him a lot. All right. Here is Rabbi Weinfeld.
A good Erev Shabbos. A guy received a letter from the IRS offices that he should come for a meeting. They have an issue with something what's going on by him in the business. He comes and they are telling him, listen, you are reporting to us every year that you're making a very low income. And if this is the case, how can it be that you have such a nice house? A house that is worth a few $1 million. Where did he get the money from? So he said that a few years ago he had a dream that Eliyahu came to him in the dream and he told him that behind one of the trees in his backyard there is a lot of money and he should go and look for the money and then he will have enough money for what he needs. When he woke up, he believed in the story and he went and he found a lot of money behind the tree. So the guy from the IRS is telling him, can you bring me a proof for this story? So the guy says, of course, come, I will show you my house. This guy believed in what he said. But really, we can run our life in the same way and even much stronger. And this is what the parsha of this week, Behar, is telling us and teaching us. Daber el bnei Yisrael ve'omartu alayhem. Hashem tells Moshe in Har Sinai, you should tell Am Yisrael, ki sovoyu el ha'oretz asher ani noisin lochem, and you will come to Israel, ve'shov so ha'oretz Shabbos la'Hashem. And then you will have a year of Shemitah, to rest, not to work. And then the Torah is telling us that 6 years you're going to work and then you will rest the 7th year. So if the Torah is telling us later on 6 years and then the 7th year to rest, why is the Torah telling us at the beginning that the 7th year you have to rest? It's like double. And why before the working? Usually we rest after we work. And this is to teach us, tells the Rebbe, that the parnasa doesn't come from work. Yes, we have to work hard. We have to use our brain for business. We have to use our hand and feet for business, to go to the office every day, to do whatever we need to do, Be'ezras Hashem. But the parnasa doesn't come from that. The parnasa comes from resting. Means, after 6 days, b'schus the Shmiras Shabbos that we keep, and we have a belief in Hashem that Hashem is giving us the parnasa, comes the parnasa. B'schus that we are keeping the 7th year and we don't do any work and Shemitah year, we have the parnasa the 6 years. So the parnasa comes really from resting. And if we are running our life this way, really even when we are working in the 6 days and in the 6 years, we have menuche, we can rest. Means we can do our work but with no worries. And this is the real way how to run a good life. We believe in Hashem. Hashem should give us, we should be able to do it. Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach.
All right, fantastic. And how about Let's do an overview to this week's Parsha with Shazak. Are you ready? Here we go. Let's do an overview.
The Rambam's Tzedakah Ladder. Well, there you have it. Parshas Behar, a Parsha of faith and freedom. The Rambam's Tzedakah Ladder. By not planting the entire year of Shemitah, a Parsha
freedom
of
of
faith
servants and freedom for poor people.
By lending money without charging interest, or giving in charity before it is too late, and they will be forced to be sold as a servant. By
Did you know
lending
that
money
there are
without
different levels of
charging
giving to
or
tzedakah,
giving in charity before it is too late? Let's turn to the words of the great Rambam, where he paints a picture of a ladder with 8 rungs, in order to teach us about the different ways of giving tzedakah.
To help us understand this better, we and Shazak took the liberty to change the wording of the Rambam and use Shazak.
A wealthy person
to help us understand this better, we and Shazak
a poor person
took the
five
liberty to change
flat
the wording of
ropes.
the Rambam and
There are
use
8
Shazak.
levels in charity, each one higher than the other. Level number 8.
Best
of all. At the top of the ladder is the gift of self-relying higher than the other. When Ruby helps Feigl by giving or lending money, so Feigl can at the top of the ladder is the gift or by self-relying higher than the other. When Ruby that is what the Torah states
here in Parshas Behar.
You shall support him, the stranger, the resident, and he shall live among us. What the Torah support him and lift him up. You shall support him, the stranger, the resident.
You probably heard him say,
give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach him how to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime.
Imagine how you help lift this person's self-esteem.
Give a man a fish
Now he doesn't feel like a poor charity.
How to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime.
Level number 7.
The
hidden giver and hidden receiver. A lower level than this is when Ruby gives tzedakah number 7, but in a way that neither one knows the identity of each other. A lower level. This type of giving was demonstrated by the Lishkas Chashoim, the secret chamber that existed in the Beis Hamikdash. The right type of giving was demonstrated by the Lishkas Chashoim, the secret giving to a charity fund in the Beis Hamikdash. The right type of giving was demonstrated by the Lishkas Chashoim, giving to a charity fund in the Beis Hamikdash. The right type of giving was level number 6, the hidden giver. When Ruby gives tzedakah to Feigl without Feigl knowing who gave him the money.
Ruby knows that Feigl got his tzedakah, but
Feigl doesn't know tzedakah to Feigl without Feigl knowing. An example of this were the great sages who would go in secret and throw money into the doorways of the poor. An example of this were the great sages who would go in secret and throw money into the doorways of the poor. Under an example of this were the great
one day this neighbor hid to find out who this honest neighbor was.
Caught you in action. What's your name? Who are you?
One day this poor man shouted when he saw Mar Ukva from a distance holding his carrots. Mar Ukva didn't want to give him a close look, so he ran.
Who are you?
But one poor man ran after him when he saw Mar Ukva.
Don't run away! Don't run away! I just want to know who you are and thank you. Who are you?
One poor man ran after him when he saw Mar Ukva.
Don't run away! Don't run
Mar
away!
Ukva escaped by hiding in a hot oven.
Level number 5, the hidden receiver. When Ruby gives tzedakah and has no idea who will end up getting it. But Feigl, the poor person, knows the identity. When Ruby gives tzedakah and has no idea who will end up getting it. Sages who would bundle coins in sheaves and hang them over their shoulders, and the poor would come from behind and dig without being noticed. This saved the poor from becoming embarrassed. And the poor would come from behind and dig without being noticed. This saved the poor from becoming embarrassed.
The next 4 examples are when the tzedakah giver and the poor person are face to face.
Level number 4.
The next
Don't
4
ask,
examples
I'll
are
give.
when the tzedakah
Give
giver
money
and
to the
poor
poor
person are face to face.
before. Yes.
Here's a little extra cash just in case you need it.
I'll give money to the poor before. Level number 3.
Here's a little extra cash just in case you need it.
Give money to the poor after being asked.
Well, okay,
Level
Five-Hole,
number
here's some money for you to fix a broken fridge you told me about.
Give money to the poor after being
Level number 2. Well, okay, Five-Hole, here's some money for you to fix a broken fridge you
Give less to the poor than they actually need, but
Level
do
number
so.
2. Well, okay, here's your nickel, Five-Hole, my good friend.
Give less to the poor
Good
than they
health.
actually need,
Very good health. Well, okay, here's your nickel, Five-Hole, my good friend.
And finally, the lowest level. Level number 1.
Giving.
And finally, the lowest level. Level number 1.
Giving.
At the bottom of the ladder is giving charity in a way that causes embarrassment. Level number 1.
Five-Hole, my good friend. I'll give you money this time, but grow up. Get your act together and start making enough money to support yourself. I'll give you money this time, but grow up. Get your act together and start making enough money to support yourself. I'll give you money this time, but grow up. Get your act together and start making enough.
So there you have it, the Rambam's famous 8 levels of tzedakah. But whatever way you give, even the lowest level, it's still a big mitzvah. So there you have it. In fact, our sages of the Talmud say
The mitzvah of tzedakah is equal to all the mitzvahs of the Torah.
A big mitzvah. So
Combined.
in fact, our sages of the Talmud say
the mitzvah of tzedakah is equal to all the mitzvahs combined.
Taste of Shazak Parsha video, you'll love the complete video at Shazak.com. You'll also get amazing Parsha quizzes, puzzles, Parsha on the page, and the Parsha post. Use coupon code Shazak for a great discount. Parsha quizzes, puzzles.
All right, that was fun. Going on to the second of the Hill. We say chapter 122 every day. Let's do it now.
שיר המעלות לדוד, שמחתי ואומרים לי, בית אדוני נלך, עומדות היו רגלינו, בשערייך ירושלים, ירושלים הבנויה נלך, עומדות רגלינו יחדיו, ששם עלו שבטים, ירושלים הבנויה נלך, להודות לשם יחדיו, ששם עלו שבטים, Tisos David, Lehodah Shalom Yachlah, Yishlayu Habayich, Tisos Shalom Dechilech, Shalva Baruch Leman, Achai V'Rei, Yishlayu Hanayich, Shalom Lach, Shalom Dechilech, Leman Beis Adonai Eloheinu, Avaksha Tochla, Yishlayu.
All right, we have a lot of Tanya to do today. Let's do it for the 16th day of Iyar. I said it right.
Tanya thoughts for the 16th of Iyar. Remember the objective. The more profoundly we recognize all that Hashem does for us, the more motivated we are to do for Hashem. Creation is a lot of work for Hashem. Hashem is infinite. Creation is finite. Hashem has to tone down his identity, his infinity, to create the world. Let's do the same. Let's tone down our identity. Let's tone down our finity, our what's in it for me. And instead, let's be more infinite, more like Hashem, more giving, more selfless.
Let's talk Tanya for the 16th of Iyar.
In yesterday's Tanya, we introduced the two modalities of divine light. There's the infinite light, which is known as Soivav Kalalman, that which surrounds and encompasses all of creation. And then there is the finite light, which is called Mamali Kalalman, the light which fills all of creation. So by way of example, let's talk about planet Earth for a second. The Soivav Kalalman, the infinite light of God, the encompassing light of God, is everywhere, within everything, and every single detail. But at the same time, what is revealed in the world? What level of light can the planet process? So the planet is actually made up of two different elements, doimim and soimeach, that which is inanimate, stones, minerals, and soimeach, that which grows. Now, both of those obviously require a very, very limited amount of energy, even relative to, for example, animals or human beings. In doimim, in the inanimate, all you need is energy enough to sustain it, that it should exist. In tzoymeach, and that which grows, so you need energy, not only that it should exist, but also that it should grow. So these are two very, very limited forms of energy. These are from Memali Kalalman, the lower modality of light, as opposed to the infinite light of God. It exists everywhere, but it's not grasped, it's not processed by creation. Now, how is that possible? How is it possible for, on the one hand, this light of God, the infinite light of God, to be omnipresent, to be everywhere, but at the same time to be absolutely hidden from all of creation? And you might want to argue even creation isn't in any which way impacted by it. So the Alter Rebbe gives an example. Imagine envisioning something that you've seen. So let's say envisioning in your mind Niagara Falls. Let's say you've been there and you take some time to envision it down to its last detail, or the Grand Canyon, or your childhood home, or a friend. So when you do so, in your mind, in your thoughts, the entirety of that place, of that person, is contained and encompassed in your mind. But that person or that place is completely unimpacted by it, is unaware even of the fact that it, or he or she, is in your mind at that moment. Even though that, again, every detail and every aspect of that place or person is in your mind at this moment. The same thing is with God. The Soivav Kalalman, this infinite light, encompasses all of creation. It is the knowledge of God that contains everything. But here's one crucial difference. By us, when I envision something, if I'm thinking about the Grand Canyon, I don't have the physical Grand Canyon in my brain. I have the spiritual form of the Grand Canyon in my mind. God, when he envisions something, and he is constantly envisioning the entire world, everything is encompassed and contained within him, it's not only the spiritual concept of it which is within him, but it actually encompasses the entirety of it, including the physical element and aspect of it. But at the same time, we remain unimpacted by it. It is not revealed to us. So we have over here these two modalities, Memala Kalalman, Soivav Kalalman, the finite light of God, the infinite light of God. Why are both of these necessary? What different role do both of these lights, the different lights, play in creation? That we will discuss, God willing, in tomorrow's Let's Talk Tanya.
Thank you for joining Tanya in 5. Today's lesson for the 16th of Iyar. We continue in chapter 48. Chapter 48, in one word, is Ligdulasai, God's greatness. God's greatness, Ein Sof, is limitless. Hence, in order that there should be a finite existence, God needs to, as it were, contract, mitzamtzim, on himself, in order that there should be a physical, finite existence. How do we understand this? Contraction is that there is a limited, very infinitesimal light that is enclosed within this world, and at the same time there is a light of God that is encircling, that is an infinite light of God himself. Let's illustrate this point. Let's consider the material world. When we speak about God, it does say in the verse that the whole world is full of his glory, meaning the Ein Sof, as it is written, do I not do do I, not I, fill heaven and earth. In other words, I meaning the Ein Sof, referring to the limitlessness of God. So we say that He is found within. Nevertheless, it's only a very small vitality of sort of the category of inanimate and vegetable worlds that is clothed within this limited world in a revealed manner. That is, we are influenced by in a revealed manner. When we say in the manner of inanimate and vegetable worlds, we're just giving that by way of a metaphor because that is a reduced form of vitality. So that is the ray of light that we can, it's a revealed influence, therefore we can have some kind of comprehension and understanding of that divine light. While all the light of the Ein Sof, which is the limitless light of God, which is called encompassing, even though it actually pervades the world. In other words, you can't say that God's light is not able to be here. It is here. When we speak about the Ein Sof, the limitlessness of God, God's light, the Or Ein Sof, the Soviv Kol Almin, it encircles, but it means that its influence is not revealed within the world, but it is actively within the world in a hidden and concealed manner. And this is the idea of what it means encircling from above. And that's why it is coming from a higher world, a higher plane, than the revealed world. The hidden world is a much higher plane. Now, let's make this a little more intelligible. Let's take an example. When a man forms an image in his mind of something, I have the image of this in my mind right now. This is a clock, and I am seeing this clock, or if I close my eyes, I have the image in my mind. Now, although I have the image of the entire body and the essence of the thing, both the exterior of it, the interior of it, I have the image of it in my mind. It's completely mirrored there in my thoughts. So it's in my mind, as it were, but yet the expression that we would use is that my mind is encompassing the object completely, even though it is, even though it's within my mind, within the image of my mind at least, it's the term that we would use is encompassing. Now, but in fact, it's not encompassing in actual fact. It's only encompassing the image of this, because this is not in my mind. It's only the image of this that is now in my thoughts and in my mind. God, on the other hand, the Ein Sof of Hashem, His thoughts are not like our thoughts, where my thought can only have the image of this. I can't have the physical thing in my mind. But by God, when we say that it's encompassed all of creation within His mind, within Him, it means the actual clock, the actual world, and the actually everything is encompassed within His mind, as it were. In actual fact, as opposed to by the human being, it's only the image of it. And with this we can understand that, again, that God, He Himself, the Ein Sof, pervades the world, but yet the term that we use is encompassing, because the effect that it has upon us is beyond us, that we would be able to contain and maintain, but yet it is an influence that is there in a concealed manner. And that is Tanya in 5. Thank you for joining.
All right. Fantastic. Everybody's doing so well. Pirkei Avot. All right. This week we are continuing chapter 5. Pirkei Avot. Here's our first video.
Avot, Pirkei Mishnah Aleph. First Mishnah, in the 5th chapter of Masechet Avot. We're going to have a lot of asara, number of lists and counts in the coming Mishnayot. 10 of this, 10 of that, and then we'll have other numbers. Chapter of Masechet Avot. We're going to have a lot of asara, number of lists and counts. There's a Mishnah. Asara ma'amerot miza'olam. The world was created in 10 ma'amerot, 10 speaking. Okay, what are the 10 ma'amerot? List says, if you counted it, says, Vayomer Elohim, asara ma'amerot 9. The world was created in 10 ma'amerot, 10 Breshit nami ma'amaru. Okay, what are the 10 ma'amerot? It says the word of God. God created the world in 10 days. What's the big deal? Why did the word of God? God could have created the world in one ma'amar. God said, make the world. Why did it say, make the animals, make the heavens, make the world? God said, make the world. Why did it say, pay back the wicked that they destroyed? They destroyed the world that was created in 10 ma'amarot. With the 10 wicked that they destroyed the righteous. The world, they created the world, they told the world, the 10 wicked can say, why? So meaning that since God created it took them that much longer, and you work hard on something, if you work why? So meaning that you order something, since God created somebody breaks it, okay, I'll order another one. If you made it yourself, you work hard, put in effort, then it has much more meaning. So that's the idea of Asara Ma'amarot. God created somebody breaks it, okay, I'll order another one. If you made it yourself, what does that mean? Then it has much more meaning. So that's the idea of what does that mean? Because we lost one soul is or one person, then you destroy the Rishon are causing themselves to be lost through their sin souls or one that's one explanation. That's what I mean. I think they really destroyed the world. Gemara says God judges what I mean. He puts the whole world on a scale, and he puts the righteous corresponding to the wicked, and the wicked they're leading the whole world on a scale towards obligation, towards the bad. Corresponding to the wicked, they're on the wrong side. They're making the scales go down the other way. They're towards obligation, towards the bad. And it's so much worse. They're on the wrong side. They're causing that world that we live in. They're causing the world. Stop your dedicator. Remember my father. They're on the wrong side. They're causing that world that we live in. They're causing the world. Stop your dedicator. Remember my father.
Sefer HaMitzvahs with the Rambam is next.
No, it's not impossible that Ebed did say. Just study Rambam each and every day. I'll never miss my daily Rambam. My Rebbe so desires. I'm not busy or too tired. When I learn Rambam connected, I remain. I am a link in the Rebbe's golden chain.
And that is so true. We are links in the chain. All right, here's Rabbi Shais Taub.
Baruch Hashem, we're on day 15 of our daily study of the Rambam Sefer HaMitzvahs. We are still in Hilchos Avodah Zarah, the laws of idol worship, in our study of 3 chapters of the day of Mishnah Torah. And as mentioned, there are 51 of the laws of idol worship in our section. Study of 3 chapters 4 days of Mishnah Torah, 51. As mentioned, there are 31 of the laws of idol worship. 13 mitzvahs today. Study of 3 chapters 4 days. 12 of them are negative commandments, and we have one positive commandment. All right, let's go through them quickly. Negative commandment number 11 is the prohibition against a matseva. That's a monument, it's a structure that was erected. Negative commandment number 11, a landmark where people would gather to worship idols. It is forbidden to make one, even as with the intent as a place to worship the one God. Idols. We don't do that structure. Even, are you going to say, hold on a second, didn't I remember with the intent as a place to worship Jacob made such a monument, such a matzeva? He did. Then the Canaanites ruined it, and Hashem doesn't like it anymore. We don't do that. Jacob, okay, haven't done it in thousands of years. He did. Do it. Okay. The Canaanites ruined it. That's negative commandment 11. Negative commandment number 12. Prohibition of Stones that are placed on the ground for kneeling. Negative commandment number 12. That's an idolatrous practice. So don't have those stones placed. We don't kneel. We don't bow on stone. 12. That's an idolatrous practice. Notice where's the modern application of this. We don't kneel. We don't bow very often in our daily prayers, but on high holidays, Rishon and Yom Kippur, modern application bows during Aleinu, bows during the prayers, but Aveda, high holidays, Rishon and Yom Kippur, you might want to do putting something down on the floor if the floor is a stone floor to make sure that they're not bowing on stones. The exception where this is allowed is in the floor. One is allowed to bow on stones in the base of on stones. That's negative commandment 12. Negative commandment 13 is the prohibition against planting trees in the temple. There was an idolatrous practice called the Anasheda. Anasheda was a tree that was planted as sort of a marker in the temple for idol worship. You're not allowed to plant one of those anywhere near the altar in the holy temple. Idol worship. You're not allowed to plant one of those. All right, now we have a positive commandment. One positive commandment today. Positive commandment 185. Positive commandment to destroy all places of idol worship in the Holy Land. 185. Burn, destroy, and use any method to get rid of the idols and places in the idol worship, houses of idol worship in the Holy Land. Burn, destroy. Okay, that's positive 185. Negative 25. Prohibition against benefiting from idols. That means that, for instance, what is benefiting from? If somebody were to take an Ashera, that means not worshiping it, leaving it, but now he's got some wood. Oh, firewood. He burns the firewood and somebody were taking an wood. No, you're not allowed to do that. That's getting benefit from. Now he's got some wood. Oh, firewood. That is prohibited. The firewood. Commandment 25. Then we have negative commandment 22, which is benefiting from. That is prohibited. The silver and gold coating, the decorative coating of idols. Separate mitzvah. Benefiting from. What's distinct about that? Well, I'll give you an example. And this you would know if you're studying Mishnah Torah, because it explains it over there. That, for instance, this could be a case where the idol worshippers are worshiping something that can't become prohibited. Over there, for instance, they worship a mountain. So they're worshiping a mountain doesn't make the mountain prohibited to us to get benefit from it. However, for instance, they worship a mountain. So they're worshiping a mountain doesn't coating out something prohibited piece of the mountain on a rock or whatever. So that coating becomes prohibited to derive any benefit from that. And that you would find in that Mishnah Torah coating has to derive in chapter 8. And that you would find verse 7. Okay.
Today we learned 13 more mitzvahs associated with idol worship. We may not do anything that resembles idolatrous practices, even if the intent is to serve God. For example, we may not build a structure known as a matzeva for people to gather and worship there. We may also not design stones made for people to prostrate on them, and we may not plant trees in the Beis HaMikdash or near the Mizbeach for beauty. We have a mitzvah to destroy every idol and place of idol worship in whichever way is most quick and total. We may not bring into our possession anything belonging to idol worship, and we may also not derive benefits from any ornaments that were used to decorate an idol. We may not make a peace treaty with idol worshippers. We may not show pity or express praise to anything involved with idol worshippers. We may not let idol worshippers live in Eretz Yisrael so we don't learn from them, and we may also not behave like idol worshippers, be it in copying their mode of dress or hairdo or entering their places of gathering. We may not be menachesh. This refers to one who finds omens in certain things that happen to him and then acts upon those omens. We may not practice divination of any kind, using any methods to arouse our faculty of predicting the future. And finally, we may not be me'onein. This refers to one who determines the status of certain times based on astrology and then also acts upon those determinations. The Rambam adds that me'onein also refers to one who performs optical illusions.
All right. Yeah, Rabbi Tal was going to go on for a while, so I shortened that. All right, but we got the gist, right? Matters are. All right, for today, the 16th day of Iyar, Hashem is destined to make a feast for the tzaddikim, the righteous. After they eat and drink, they will pass Avram the cup of blessing to honor him with leading the grace after meals. He will refuse because he will say, Ishmael came from me. Yitzchak will refuse because of Esav. Yaakov will refuse because he married two sisters, which the Torah later prohibited. Moshe will refuse because he didn't get to enter the land of Israel. Yeshua will refuse because he had no son. David will accept, saying, it is fitting for me to lead the blessings. It says, Kos Yeshuas Esa, I will raise a cup of salvation. V'shem Hashem Ekra, I will call in the name of Hashem. When we eat a meal, we elevate the sparks of holiness that are mixed into the world as a result of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. When Mashiach comes, our feast will be pure godliness from the tree of life. At that time, each righteous person will feel somewhat inadequate because his divine service was based upon his intrinsic nature and character. This form of service has an element of self-consciousness that comes from the tree of knowledge. And for that reason, David, whose service exemplifies selflessness and simple obedience, will lead the blessing. Here's Shmuel Tzvi. I hope.
People think that we have to go out to find God, that they have to go out in the world to find God. They have to go out of themselves. Rather, we have to go into ourselves to find God. We have to go into our hearts, and that is through learning the Torah. God is revealed in the Torah. It says, Hashem, the Torah, and the Jewish people are kulachad, completely one. We must unify with God, our inner life force. People are kulachad, completely one.
Beautiful.
We must unify with God,
RPSA,
our inner life force. People are kulachad.
All right, Masbia Soup Kitchen and Food Pantry is available by texting the word food to 726-879. 726-879. Hot meals every day and 7 days worth of pantry food in Flatbush Borough Park and Queens. Oh, wow, that got really big. Okay, that's cool. That's all right with me. All right, in Rockland County, it's tomcheshabbat.org, tomcheshabbos.org, sorry. And Lakewood, it's tomche.org. In Chicago, all right, in Rockland County, it's tomcheshabbat.org, tomcheshabbos. And our national list at breakfastwitheli.live/soup-kitchens. Achiezer.org. Achiezer providing services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If you need anything from them, they will help you out. All right. Hatzalah.
What would we do without Hatzalah? We have charity campaigns non-stop, but Hatzalah is a question of life and the opposite of life. I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to Hatzalah for the countless times they've helped me, my children, my family, the entire community. I urge everybody to do everything they can and support Hatzalah in their current campaign. Not Chas v'Shalom to use Hatzalah, but to know that they're there in case Chas v'Shalom something happens, we could use them. Not Chas v'Shalom to use Hatzalah,
all right, Hatzalah's
but to know that they're there in case Chas v'Shalom something happens,
on the iOS and Android stores. Hatzalah.org.
Not Chas v'Shalom to use Hatzalah,
all right, Hatzalah's
but to know that they're there in case Chas v'Shalom.
MissAskim.org in times of bereavement. you're never prepared for this. So they will help you out from beginning to end of all of your needs and beyond that. MissOskin.org at 718-854-4548. Just One Shabbos, a beautiful organization dedicated to the mitzvah of bringing our youth back to the mitzvah of Shabbat. The victim of or see a hate crime in progress, and unfortunately there are too many of them. You need to call Hatzalah. I'm sorry, you need to call 911 and Hatzalah if you need to. All right? And please, continue wearing your mask. We're almost done.
Wear a mask.
I think we're
Is
almost
this
done.
really
I
much
really
to
do.
ask?
I
Tie
think we're
some
almost
fabric round your face. Oh, it's
Just
the
keep doing it a little
simplest
while
of
longer.
tasks. At the
Let's
gym,
make sure
at the store. Don't treat it
that we
like
don't get
such
sick.
a chore.
All right? I booked it, by the way. Yeah. I got a new role coming up, and we're going to shoot it on Thursday, God willing. And you can bet I will be wearing a mask whenever I am not actually on camera. All right? And, of course, they are still COVID testing, which makes me very, very happy. All right? So make sure you get your vaccinations and your booster shots. Now let's bring some heaven down to earth. When the Rebbe accepted the mantle of leader, this was his acceptance speech. If you find another who has a love of God but lacks love of his people and love of Torah, tell him love not last. If you find someone who has a love of his people but lacks a love of Hashem and love of Torah, work with him to nurture this love until it overflows onto the other two, until all three join in one tight knot and never be untied. Right? Think fellow. That's great. Come talk to me about it on social media, any of the Actors Rabbis group at Clubhouse, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Telegram, Twitter, WhatsApp, or you know it, theactorsrabbi.com, where you can sign up for life coaching services. All right, let us make an afternoon.
Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesroinan al kol ma sheborasa lachayos boem nefesh kol chai baruch chai ha'olamim chayos boem nefesh kol chai baruch chai ha'olamim chayos boem nefesh kol chai baruch chai ha'olamim chayos boem nefesh kol chai baruch.
Get on the bandwagon. Go to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, or get on the bandwagon.live/patreon and help defray our rabbis so that we continue to be doing this. All right? Or it is Sunday, and I know, right? We have Baruch Vizel, all right, and Yossi Nali in a new video today. I think all right, and check out in a new video. So yes, come back tomorrow. We will talk about the upcoming holiday of Lag BaOmer. Please continue davening for HaYom. Yes, come back tomorrow. We will talk about Simcha Chasia, a young man, a young boy who please continue davening the victim of the year. Yes, come back tomorrow. We will talk about Simcha Chasia, a young man, a young boy who please say some healing for him. Yes, come back tomorrow. Just help Hashem make a decision to make some healing for him. All right, thank you for being here. Go out and do something nice, something good. Today, help connections that help Hashem make something to you. All right, thank you for being here. Go out and do something nice. Hashem will draw you close to Him. Make it a great Shabbat. Stay and be. All right, thank you for being here. Go out and do something nice. Hashem will draw you close to Him. Make it a great Shabbat. Stay and be. All right. Thank you for being here. Go out and use some knife that will boil Hashem will draw you closer to Him. Make it a great
וזהו עיקר אמונו שבשבילו נברוא עודו. וזהו עיקר אמונו שבשבילו להאמין שהכל טוב. וזהו עיקר אמונו שבשבילו נברוא עודו. וזהו עיקר אמונו להאמין שהכל טוב. הכל בימס 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 אין רע יורד מלמעלה. הכל בימס יורד מלמעלה והכל טוב והכל טוב. הכל בימס 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 אין רע יורד מלמעלה. שבשבילו